Secretary of State. Listen to this.
Climate change can now be considered another weapon of mass destruction, perhaps even the world's most fearsome weapon of mass destruction.
To which you tweeted this. You said, every American who cares about national security must demand Kerry's resignation. A delusional Secretary of State is dangerous to our safety. You misspelled Kerry, but that's all right. You fixed it later. So tell us why you think he's delusional and dangerous.
Well, you just showed it for 30 minutes on CNN. Look at the violence in Kiev. Look at the violence in Syria. Look at the violence in Iraq. Look at the Iranians trying to get a nuclear weapon. Look at the 100+ nuclear weapons that we have in Pakistan. Look at the Chinese nuclear arsenal, the Russian nuclear arsenal. This is not some U.S. senator just having a wild speech to please the left. This is the Secretary of State of the United States of America at an international forum saying that the greatest threat is global climate change during a year, by the way, in which his facts were just plain wrong. He had a whole series of statements that are factually false. And I think it's, again, fine for U.S. senators because there are 100 of them and any one of them on any given day can be wrong. But the Secretary of State ought to be held to a standard of seriousness that this speech totally falls short of.
We went back and checked your record. All of us remember the Nancy Pelosi video that you were the two of you were sitting on the stage. But that back in 2007, you appeared with then Senator John Kerry and you spoke about global climate change, and the two of you had this exchange.
We don't always see eye to eye, do we, Newt?
No, but we do agree our country must take action to address climate change.
All right, that was the first video. That was you and Nancy Pelosi, to which you later said that was a blunder on your part. You shouldn't have appeared on that sofa with her. But
with Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, with Nancy Pelosi. Here's the exchange you had with Kerry.
I'm excited to hear you talk about the urgency. I really am. And given that, albeit you still sort of have a different approach, what would you say to Senator Inhofe and to others in the Senate who are resisting even the science? What's your message to them here today?
My message, I think, is that the evidence is sufficient that we should move towards the most effective possible steps to reduce carbon loading of the atmosphere.
And do it urgently, now.
And do it urgently, yes.
And do it urgently now. So you still agree with Kerry on that point?
Look, I think it's perfectly rational to say that as a matter of prudence, we should limit carbon loading of the atmosphere. To then go from that statement, declare that it is a weapon of mass destruction, and that we should adopt trillions and trillions of dollars of changes, centralizing power and bureaucracies over something which may or may not occur over the next 100 years, particularly since 2007, the evidence has not been very good. The fact is we have been in a 15 or 16-year pause, which the climate fanatics are desperately trying to explain. The fact is the Arctic ice last year has grown dramatically from the year before. The Antarctic ice has grown dramatically. And I think that there's a lot of evidence to have a rational conversation. Read Kerry's speech. He rejects any opportunity for a rational conversation. He says everybody who disagrees should be kicked out of the room. And then he declares that this is more dangerous than a nuclear war. I think that's a delusional statement. I think it's very troubling to have a Secretary of State who believes that climate change is a greater danger than a nuclear war. I am quite prepared to defend the argument that nuclear war is a far bigger threat to our society than is climate change. And I can't believe that we can have a Secretary of State who presumably is instructing the State Department to follow his speech, which I think would be a disaster for the United States.
And so just to be precise on this point, because we're out of time, you still want him to resign because of those comments?
Absolutely. If he believes him, and I assume he does, I think it is dangerous to have a person who believes that as Secretary of State. Fine as a senator, terrible as Secretary of State.
Newt Gingrich, as usual, a good discussion.